down. O Bhagavad Gita, by which Arjuna was illumined by Lord Krishna himself, and which was composed of 18 chapters within the Mahabharata by the ancient sage Vyasa. O Divine Mother, destroyer of rebirth, who showers the nectar of oneness upon us. O Bhagavad Gita, my affectionate mother, on thee I meditate. All the Upanishads are the cows. The milker is the cowherd boy, Krishna. Arjuna is the cow. People of purified intellect are the drinkers, and the milk is the supreme nectar of the Gita. My salutations to the Lord, who is the source of supreme bliss, whose grace makes the mute eloquent, and the crippled cross mountains. Okay, chapter 15, Yoga of the Supreme Spirit. We continue. So, again, making the connection between that and thou. That absolute and thou. Permeating the earth, I support all beings by my energy. And having become the watery moon, I nourish all herbs. Who's heard the term soma?
Drink? Nectar?
Yeah. That's just an English word. Yeah. Soma. Here, soma is being translated as watery. And it'll be discussed a little bit more. But the connection being made is I am that soma. I am that soma. It's said to have different qualities by different people, quite mysterious. Permeating the earth, I support all beings by my energy. And having become the watery moon, I nourish all of the herbs. Having become the fire, Vaishvanara, I abide in the body of living beings and associated with the prana and apana, digest the fourfold food. So all of these things that we take for granted, yes? Mm-hmm. We live our life without ever paying attention to the mystery of life, yeah? We take all of the mysterious for granted, and we argue over the pedantic, over the meaningless little stuff like, is the name Bob or Bill? He's good. No, he's bad. But here, so again, it shows us this Maya, how it is that it turns us from what's important to what's not, from what's essential to what's ephemeral. You see?
From the real to the unreal.
But then also, what is it that urges us to turn our view back from the ephemeral to the eternal?
Isn't it the eternal itself?
Oh, this too. Yeah, this is discussed some today, and this and next as well. So Swami adds his commentary. He says, Soma in the text has been variously interpreted, and in the context of the Veda, it's been taken to mean a kind of intoxicating drink. And that was what you were coming with. Yes. The sense in which it has been used here makes it clear that soma is watery energy. Watery energy. And we'll see that in other places in nature as well. Kind of a liquid energy. Or some kind of an essence, rasa, which the moon bestows on the herbs. And there's a connection, of course, to the feminine as well in the same way. These verses bring God nearer home, explaining the daily function of our body, right? The stuff that we take for granted. Krishna neither cancels the vitamin theory nor the herbalist's ecstatic belief in the miracle that herbs can work. He intensifies both. So those who say, yes, this is a miracle cure. These vitamins will help you. And these herbs, if you eat these, they'll bring you vitality. So what Swamiji is sharing is, yes, it's true. But by the way, what are they? And where are they coming from? So they help us to connect back to turn ourselves back to the essence, to the divine essence. This that we take for granted, the digestive fire. Where would we be without the digestive fire? We wouldn't be in this body, right? So he says he intensifies both. Mineral salts nourish plant life, and plants nourish animals, but the power of nourishment is God. Scientists have carefully analyzed the assessed mineral salts and described their composition in terms of different molecules. Krishna only expresses in another way the truth which scientists, in the glory of that intelligence, which is reflected light of God, the intelligence of the scientists, have made clear. There can be one answer to the questions: who organized the molecules? Who guided the scientists' intelligence? Who guided the herbalists in the planting and the discovery of the mystery of the herbs? So here Krishna is really in this chapter helping us, guiding us to see. Remember we were talking yesterday in the Upanishad when we were introducing Isha Upanishad. And we had read, and you picked up on it, the sutras that talked about to darkness goes the one who considers only the form. But to greater darkness is the one who considers only the spirit. As if withdrawing from the form. And we were discussing what that means, that we're needing to open our eyes and see what's here, and close our eyes and see what's here, right? A movement inside, but also a movement back outside with this knowledge of what's here, and really living to see it and to honor it.
So contemplating this creative intelligence allows us to see more clearly.
Yes, it does. It does. It purifies our own intelligence, which is not ours. And we see this too.
Right.
So it brings us to a space where, like that story that Swami Ramaswamy never tired of telling, about the monk sitting there in the forest, right? And the eyes are closed, and he says to himself, if God is outside, why are my eyes closed? And he opens his eyes and he sees. And then, after some time, if God is inside, why are my eyes open? Why am I looking outside? And then there's another story that I enjoy sharing. The person who shared this is so lovable himself, Swami Atmananda. And you've heard this a few times with Swami Atmananda. Swami Atmananda is just adorable. He's now, I lost track of him for a while, but he's back with Swami Premananda. He had gone back to India. When I met him, he was living in Minnesota, and he'd come to the yoga teacher training at the yoga farm one year. I think it was 2015. And I was serving there, and he came and talked, and he told this story. And he's like an imp. He's just got this impish smile and way about him, and he's about 4'8" or something like that. And so he talked about friends in New York. He was visiting New York, and friends there wanting him to go to MoMA, to the Metropolitan Museum of Art, and they had an exhibit, and I never remember which one it is. It's not Dali, but one of the Impressionists. Who besides Dali?
Monet.
Monet, not Monet. There's one more. Well, it's okay. We can say it's Dali.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
We can say it's Dali, even though I know it's not. So they had a large Dali exhibit, and Swamiji didn't really care. He didn't have any interest in it, but finally he consented to go. And everybody, he went inside with them, and he's looking at these works of art, and they seem so odd because everything seems to be in the wrong place. So on the images, and so he decided to take his time and to see with each one. And so this is the way he shared the story. He looked at every piece. He would stop and look at a piece until he got it. This is what we're talking about. And then seeing that creative intelligence, or seeing that which is God, which is the divine in that piece, and then going to the next piece. And he says, and I would look at the next one until I got it. So you can imagine mental process, but we all have ways of, by now, we all have ways that we have the capacity, if we do it, to see that divine. You know, based on this, you have one right here. This digestion. You can see the food coming in, and you can see the process and have the understanding that this fire is the divine, is God. That when we chant Om Brahma Pranam Brahma Vir Brahmagno Brahmanutam Brahmevate Nagantavyam, that it has real meaning. And we can see it. We have to use the intellect to see, right?
Right.
So this is what he was doing. And he said by the end of the day, and they had run on ahead, he only got through one floor. And he said by the end of the day, when they left, he was in such a place that he looked at the garbage bin outside, and he got it. And so this is what Krishna is working with us on here, is to not really to demystify life, but to point to the reality of life in a way that we can work with, so that we can see even what we consider to be the mundane, so that we can see what's really here. Right? And seeing what's really here, it brings a glory to life. First, an ease. I mean, if we really see it, it brings an ease, because no more do we feel like I'm alone and I'm responsible by myself, and I have to do this and I have to do that, and life is such a drudgery. The things that we took to be drudgery, we can also, if we choose to look, we can also see in them. Right? And it allows us to come to a place where life is pervaded by the divine, by the Buddha nature, by the spirit, however we relate. And the mundane nature of life really falls away, and life becomes what it is. An ease, a flow of ease in God, in the divine.
Another artist would be Van Gogh. It wasn't Van Gogh.
It was Van Gogh.
Oh, yeah?
It was Van Gogh, yeah. So Swamiji continues here. He says, within the human body, as the gastric fire, it is his power again that digests all kinds of foods. A study of the process of digestion is an amazing indicator of the divine power that functions within our own body. It is good to cultivate the habit of feeling the presence of God in all of these functions. It will promote the health of the body, mind, and soul, and it will free you. It is also good to remember all the time that saying God is not knowing him. When God is given as an answer to our questions, the question is not answered, but the quest is intensified. The verbal answer is but a word, and the truth eludes the words. But the grace is revealed through the quest, especially as it gets intensified. Next, Shloka 15. And I am seated in the hearts of all. From me are memory, knowledge, as well as their absence. I am verily that which has to be known by all the Veda. I am indeed the author of Vedanta, so the highest teaching, and the knower of the Veda am I. So I am the author and the knower, both. Swamiji adds this. He says, Shaiva Siddhanta also declares that it is God who veils and it is he again who reveals. Why does he veil? This is the question that we ask, but usually we'll be told don't ask. Why does he veil? And Swamiji says, in order that we may seek him, and then he unveils in order that we may realize him. There is no further why. This is the truth which has to be accepted. It is this power to which the Veda offer their prayers. Its glory do they sing. Veda might refer to all branches. All of them will ultimately lead us to a realization of God's omnipresence. For if we pursue with an incisive why the acquisition of any knowledge, we shall ultimately end up confessing, I don't know. Only God knows why this unceasing and unquenchable thirst to know is there in the heart of man. Only he knows all knowledge, Veda, and the end of knowledge, Vedanta. When knowledge is subject-object, when knowledge as subject-object relationship comes to an end, it shines in its own light as pure awareness, God, in which there is no distinction between the knower, knowledge, and the object of knowledge. Thus, from a look at the sun in verse 12, Krishna has brought God consciousness closer to our very self. In that process, the object, the experience, and the subject, the experiencer, seem to merge into one. And that's actually directly what Lord Krishna said in this case, is I am both what is to be known and the knower of it. So where do we go? When we know this, where do we go?
YouTube.
Huh?
YouTube.
Oh my God, dear Kartikeya.
I found out a lot easier.
I have a question about the veiling and the unveiling.
Yes, dear.
When he says, I veil in order that we seek him, does it have to do with the suffering that comes from the veiling?
Yeah, it's natural, isn't it? So this is Swamiji's commentary on the verse, or related to the verse. But just look at our situation. We see it's very natural. When we suffer, we seek the release from the suffering. And of course, initially, we look for the release from the suffering in the objects. But after some time, we discover that they don't give us the release or relief. And so we finally start to genuinely ask. And when we start to ask, more is revealed. As Jesus says, ask and it shall be answered. Knock and the door shall be opened. Yeah. But of course, what we find is initially we're seeking, and our own mind, as it were, is telling us what the answer is, and we open the doors and open the doors. This sense object, this sense object. But that seeking is ultimately what? It's seeking for
all the details.
God. Yeah. Ultimately, it's seeking that which satisfies Kartikeya. Yeah, and the details you just keep on going, my dear.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you'll figure it out. Because all the details won't satisfy.
They're handy though.
For what?
Well, I found out.
For what? What do you do with them? What do you do with them?
Well, all the things.
What do you do with them?
I found out where all the different spaces. I found out that.
Yeah. Okay. Very good.
Write a book.
Which life? Clearly not this one.
Yeah, this one.
Clearly not this one.
It's gonna be forever.
So fine, you just keep on coming back. You write your book and you see how that goes.
Yeah. There's so many books out there
Thank you for joining us. Yeah. Did that help with the question you had? I mean, look at our situation and we see it. But then at some point we do realize that what we're actually seeking is that which is beyond the mundane. Right?
Beyond the veil.
Beyond the veil. And then we find, and then repeat.
That's the problem. Getting my mind really.
But who's finding who?
God finding God.
Yeah.
That's where, in the essay on life, Swami Shivananda talks about God in the process of evolution. God in the process of evolution. Okay, we'll close. Final prayers in R&T, page 174. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam Orvairukmeva Bandhanan Mritor Mukshiyamamritat Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam Orvairukmeva Bandhanan Mritor Mukshiyamamritat Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam Orvairukmeva Bandhanan Mritor Mukshiyamamritat Om Shantisham Sastir Bhavatu Sarvesham Shantir Bhavatu Sarvesham Purnam Bhavatu Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina Sarve Shantu Niramaya Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Makashi Dukhabhag Bhave Asato Ma Satgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mritor Ma Mritam Gamaya Om Purnamida Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So God is also that which ever keeps on looking.
Certainly.
O adorable Lord of mercy and love, salutations and prostrations unto thee.
Thou art omnipresent,
omnipotent, and omniscient. Thou art Satchidananda. Thou art existence, knowledge, and bliss absolute. Thou art the indweller of all beings. Grant us an understanding heart, equal vision, balanced mind, faith, devotion, and wisdom. Grant us inner spiritual strength to resist temptation to control the mind. Free us from egoism, lust, anger, greed, hatred, and jealousy. Fill our hearts with divine virtues. Let us behold thee in all these names and forms. Let us serve thee in all these names and forms. Let us ever remember thee. Let us ever sing thy glories. Let thy name be ever on our lips. Let us abide in thee forever and ever. On below Sacred Chap.15 Geeta, and for all the saints and sages of all the traditions. Stand for our teas. Our teas on page 210.